Okay, this is like a classroom video, if you will, where I wanted to really explore with you the themes which I brought up in my other video, which is my story and how I had to walk away from what I was doing in order to find alignment and fulfillment. So I think it looks something like this. Now, I'll just start with this. Arthur C. Brooks, Harvard professor, he released a video on Harvard Business Review about the need to be bored. And he said, you need to be bored. And the premise is you need to be bored because you need time and space to think about the big questions of life. Because if you don't, essentially the trajectory that you're on is not going to change, right? And I found this like starting my business 2008 and then building and building and building on that, like layers and layers and layers on top of that. And I said in the other video, like all of this was good, built experience, wisdom, and it cultivated certain skills. And it really it really stoked the fire of potential in a way, although I didn't realize it at the time. But this is what's happening with you. Your potential is really just growing. Like as your experience grows, as your knowledge and your wisdom deepens, your potential is growing. And it's just that the potential is really just, it's being misdirected right now. It's being misdirected, and it's also like it's misaligned in the sense that can we put it this way? It doesn't fit in the hole. It's like a shape that doesn't fit right now, and it's just like, or it's pouring into this thing and it's just sort of dissipating and it isn't really going anywhere. Or it's just like the thing that you've created, this business, is just like this black hole, and it sort of just sucks everything away, and it's not even, you're not able to leverage and use your potential in it anymore. You know, all of your energy and sort of bandwidth is drained in other ways by other things. It's not a use of your potential anymore. And if you don't be bored, if you don't step away, you can't discern that misalignment. I think the misalignment is really, it's, you know, what is and what could be. It's, I have all this potential and it's like, it's not being used. It's this gap, it's this dissonance, it's this sense of things are not as they need to be. And you can only find that by being bored, right? But this is what happens instead. This is what's happening. Is we are operating our business and we're encountering these different problems. So problems always kind of represent a inflection point or crossroads or fork in the road, right? Problem, we need to adjust. Problem, we need to like scramble to find a solution. Business is always full of problems. Like problems are good in a sense. We also feel like things could be better. And so as we approach life, business life in particular, we see a lot of advice. We see a lot of people marketing their services and so on, and we're very receptive to it. You know, marketers thrive on this, and it's not a bad thing. They need to position themselves to solve problems, but they thrive on your problems, your misalignment. Ultimately, they thrive on your desire for something better. They thrive on the fact that there is a gap. All right, you have a current situation and a desired situation, and there's a gap. And so every day we see advice. You know, a lot of these sort of top 10 tips are put out to game the algorithm to be able to eventually sell a service. A lot of these helpful articles are put out by coaches and consultants, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with it if you're paying attention to it every day and you're like, oh, I should save this list, and this was helpful, and this was helpful, and let's tune into this channel now and take on these tips. All of that is bad. It's poisonous, in fact, if it's just taking you further down this journey of misalignment. So let's look at all of these like little red arrows as what we can call what I talked about in the other video, which is compensatory adjustment. they just compensate for the fact that they make a bad situation bearable. They make the best of a bad situation. And I'm being extreme, like my language is being extreme. Not everyone is completely misaligned. Things have just meandered and things have maybe just ended up in a place which is suboptimal, right? But you have to reverse that back. You have to take a few steps back and figure out where did things go off track. Because otherwise, you'll just be making these for the rest of your life, these compensatory adjustments. Like, let's try this thing. Oh, I'm too busy. I don't have as much time as I thought I should have. Now I'm running a business. I'll take a course on delegation. I'll learn how to systemize. I will hire a new team member. Now I need to learn how to do that and do that well. Or I'll digest this list of top 10 tips of how I can stay focused this week on the main thing in order to achieve my goals. And it's like goal setting and all of this stuff, right? Goal setting for a business that's potentially headed in the wrong direction. So what's happening is you're getting more and more and more misaligned. Like as Arthur C. Brooks says, depression is through the roof, and it's because nobody's bored. It's because nobody's taking the time to sort of course correct, right? So we're just making these little changes. We're just massaging this thing. We're just keeping it going, and we feel like when we make these changes, we feel like we're doing something positive. For one thing, we're now busy. We've just taken on a new course or a new consultant. Feels good, and it actually is more distraction from the problem, right? The problem is that if we drop in here, we're going to see depression is now at like a level 10 and misalignment is at like a level 15. And eventually, we're going to be completely misaligned, and depression is going to be like 25 or 30 or something like this. And that's real, right? Because this society is sick as a whole. And there's other, there's research around this, but we don't need to point to research. Like, I think this to be true. Like, if you don't make some radical changes, that's where it's going to end up. And the thing is, like, the life you'll be living then and the business you'll be operating then will just be so far away from what you designed it to be or what you set out for it to be. It's not going to be using your potential. And so that gap is going to feel really wide and it's going to feel really painful. Whereas imagine a business that's more in tune with you and more in tune with your potential and is fulfilling, right? And you do have these opportunities to create that. Create a business like this where alignment plus potential equals results, which means fulfillment, right? And this even compounds. Alignment compounds just like misalignment compounds. So you get good results from being aligned, from using your potential. You feel more fulfilled, which encourages you to use more of your potential, right? Grow your potential, push into your potential in certain areas, get more great results, enjoy more fulfillment, and keep on going. How do you do this then? So I said in my other video that I did this because I just had enough. So I reached the crossroads, and these crossroads, they present themselves routinely along your journey. These moments of inflection, they're not so much forks in the road moment. They are, I could continue, or I could turn right at this point. I could turn left at this point. I could take a completely different direction, right? These moments. These are the I've had enough moments. These are the I can't do this again moments. I can't take on another contract like this moments, okay? At that point, you could continue. Continuing looks like this. More compensation. I could take on this client after all if I blah, 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 blah. If I take on this team. We could do this project one more time if da 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 da. And I'll do it better this time and I'll compensate. I'll use compensatory adjustments again. You get it. We could often call this the crossroads of misalignment. We're already misaligned. The more we're misaligned, the more I think these opportunities will present themselves, honestly. But the more you just go straight on at the crossroads, the more you're essentially going la 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 la, and you're gonna basically that's gonna become your default mode of operation. Just keep on going, like find more help, blah, 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 right? Instead, things have to collapse a bit. Things have to break. You have to just go, enough, I'm stopping. I'll tell you the key thing that changes everything is you need to decide. That's the main thing. You have to decide, like, enough's enough. I'm not doing this anymore. From that decision, things will change. That decision will change your trajectory. It will break this, okay? For me, it was, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to fully systemize my company. That involves radical changes. That involves somebody now taking over. That involves us simplifying the services, things I should have done years ago, things I didn't do, right? I just lived on compensatory adjustments. With that time and space, I created time and space. With that time and space, I figured out what alignment would mean to me. I figured out what is my true potential. I aligned to that. So now my potential is not like being jammed through this hole, or it's not being fed into this leaky bucket of drainage. It's actually aligned into something now where it can flourish. So that becomes the new offer. It becomes the new business. I'm doing this with clients now. I'm doing this with a client who hates selling physical product, who is yearning to use more of his potential and find fulfillment. He doesn't have to burn down that business. That's like, it's the current trendy advice. He doesn't have to do that, but he can restructure, readjust, re-architect, turn that down, turn up the new thing. And actually the two things work really well together. Because you know what? When he started that product business, it wasn't from a place of complete misalignment. It often isn't. It just meanders off track. But the good news is you don't have to burn it down. You can readjust it. I hate the advice to burn it down. I've seen so many people given that advice and they've done it and they're miserable. And I'm just like, when you survey the whole architecture of the business or the ecosystem, it's like, why the hell did you do that? This could have fed this. It's like the perfect lead magnet for your new thing or something like this, right? It's not always that necessary. So be encouraged. These things are not that scary. I've done it. As I've said in the other video, I'm now in a different environment that's now supporting the new thing. Things are better than ever. Things are back in alignment. Things are very fulfilling. So I hope this kind of crystallizes what I mean a little bit more. And I hope it helps you to sort of see what's going on day to day and helps you spot these opportunities, one, for correction, these crossroad moments. And second of all, how, just a lot of what you're taking on every day is actually poisonous, because it's actually keeping you stuck on this graph, right? So if anything, I hope this video helps you to see that so you can stop. And for another video, another time, is how can you actually do it? How can you actually step back? Because I know that is tremendously difficult. So more of that in another one. I help people to do this, by the way. So if you don't want to just consume content, if you actually want to work together, I help people re-architect everything. That is what I found my value to be, right? That is what I'm doing. I'm practicing what I preach. So if you want more on that, you can check the link in the description. You can also get to that other video where I explain my story. That's in the description too. As ever, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.